Thank you everyone for coming out to the GOTHIX premiere.
GOTHIX. GOTHIX. GOTHIX.
GOTHIX.
I have nerves, but I'm not nervous.
Hello.
Hello, good sir.
I had a question early on, and it was about how many people you have converted. But the other part of it was how many people politically converted from like your old content over to your new content. Was there like any political realizations other than the religious ones?
Yeah. The question was how many people have I converted both politically and spiritually?
I don't need an exact number.
Well, I don't have an exact number.
What's your kill count?
I will say that I have definitely converted a lot more people politically because I think it's a lot easier for people to look at the political landscape and see, okay, something is fishy about this, and consider that. But once you get to the spiritual aspect, there's something that tells people that now this is just, it's illogical. Like, you were logical about the political stuff, but now this is just crazy to believe in God. But there have been some people, so I think that even if it's one, it's awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, can I direct a question to Saul?
Sure. Here you go, baby.
So, now that you have been through this cancel event, as the partner of the person being canceled, what would be your advice for others facing that situation?
It's weird because before doing it, I wasn't a believer. So I would try to control things and I know that I couldn't. So it was more of just being there no matter what, even through the hardest times that we've had. Like there was a big, not split like between us, but it put a lot between us. But it was more of just sticking by no matter what, really ignoring the comments. And it's weird because, like I said before, being a believer, what our foundation is now, being Christ. Before, it was literally nothing. It was just hard grit. Like, she's all I saw, and she was everything to me. It was just concentrating on her. It's weird to put in exactly what advice because of someone that I love so much, going through so much pain, and you're just seeing them sitting there, not feeling anything, even towards you to an extent. There's nothing you can do and you feel helpless, but it was just that grit within me, like, I love this woman. I'm sticking by her no matter what. And can't say anything to these people, but I can control how I treat this situation with her. So being by her side no matter what. But having that foundation with Christ, I pray over my wife all the time. We pray in the morning before we sleep. Our new foundation being our Lord and our Savior that has done so much for us. And we thank people in a crowd for this. We thank Moscow, Idaho. We thank Graham. Got off topic, but I just want to say thank you so much. But that's what I would say.
How are y'all doing these days?
We're doing fabulous.
Awesome. Is it really tough to be streaming and doing all the kinds of stuff that you did before? Is it hard to be creative and continue to come up with new content and all that kind of stuff?
You're reading my mind right now. That is literally it, because it's the way that I describe it is when you walk away from the left, I think it's a lot easier to make content. But once you get Christ pilled, is what I called it. It's like the veil is lifted, and you now have access to a bunch of information that you didn't have access to before. And now it's like, how do I present this information to an audience that doesn't care? and I think that's where my struggle is. It's like, how do I make this content creative? Because as you saw, I did a lot of wacky stuff. I guess I like entertaining people. I like making people laugh. But how do I make something that I can enjoy, but also delivering truth to an audience, knowing that some people are probably going to tune me out, because I believe the ultimate solution to all of life's problems is Jesus Christ. And that's a hard pill to swallow for someone that's like closed off to that information. But yeah, that's sort of where I am right now, where I'm like, what do I do?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I don't even know you and I already feel like you're my best friend.
We could be best friends. I love that.
So, when did you originally start doing your graphic designing?
Graphic design, I would say maybe that was a few years after I dropped out of high school. So I had always liked doing web design. Like when I was in school, I would go to the library and just teach myself how to code, and then I started teaching myself how to do graphic design. And then when I dropped out of high school, I did freelance work part-time just to make some extra money and build a portfolio. So I've been doing that like years before I ever started streaming.
Are you still doing your graphic design?
No. You know why? Because I hate customer service. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you.
I was wondering, I know it's been something ever present on Graham's mind for some time, but do you have ways that you've thought about to pass your message on to the people who need to hear it most?
Yeah, so the algorithm, in some ways the algorithm is great. It puts me in connection with a lot of people. But in some ways it's actually bad because it sort of encapsulates you in an echo chamber, and the people who need to hear your content, they don't get shown it. So for me personally, I've actually spoken to Graham about this. I think this documentary can do more than what I think a lot of my videos can do. And in some ways, I wonder if there's an opportunity for us to do a tour of some kind where we go to like college campuses and show this and then do Q&As like this. Would be something that I've just been thinking about. But you know, it's like the internet, it's really beneficial, but YouTube can delete me like that, and then it's like, okay, then what now?
And on a similar vein, you mentioned that your answer to everything now is Jesus. Have you found that because of, you had a very gradual change where you had to reject one thing, question everything, adopt something else, do you find the current version of you is too much all at once for some people to grasp, where they're just like, oh man, she's got all these crazy ideals, where do we even start?
Oh yeah, they look at me, they're like, what is wrong with this woman? Like they don't see the progression, because we have to understand, like you're judging someone based on a little snippet that you see on social media. You don't know anything that's going on behind the scenes, you don't know what's going on in their life, you don't see that progression. And so something with me that I'm still trying to navigate is, now that the veil has been lifted, my solution is Jesus. Like everyone's got to know about Jesus. And it's like this sense of urgency, and I feel like sometimes I have to bring that back a little bit because I'm so excited to share the good news with people. And a lot of people, they're just like, what, she's just crazy. But to this point that I'm making here, it's interesting that people, they'll think that I have some type of wisdom when it comes to the political scene, but the second I start talking about God, it's like, okay, she lost her mind. So, yeah, it's a little weird.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
So with the people in the cookout that you've had more of a relationship with, have your feelings about them shifted as you've kind of gone through some changes in your own thinking, and have there been any of them that have kind of come back around and said, I'm sorry I got caught up in this thing?
Yeah, so the cookout, the group that was shown in this documentary, I actually disclosed this to Graham a couple of days ago. When we started filming this, obviously I wasn't saved at that point, but when we started filming this, in my mind I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get back at these people. They're gonna know what they did. And my motivations for doing this doc was a lot more insidious. And as time went on, the Lord was softening my heart during that transition. And I got to a place where I was just at peace with everything that happened, and the realization of, wow, why would I just hold any animosity towards these people? And it's like I did the same thing to my friend Cassie when she voted for Trump. So, I think a lot of people, when they when they have resentment towards another person, that they feel like they've been backstabbed or what have you, it's like we have a tendency to put ourselves in this position of, well, we're not as bad as them, but realistically we're all bad. and I think once you get to that point, things sort of calm down. And so I've forgiven them. I've forgiven these people. I have no ill will towards them. I wish them nothing but the best. In fact, I pray for a lot of them because they're still, doing that, which is, you're caught in this cycle of whatever that was. But yeah, no anger, no bitterness. I'm good. Woo.
Are there any other content creators that you'd say went through the same thing that you did in the same realm of Twitch? Are you aware of any more, and are there any attempts to reach out to those people?
Yes and no, and I say it like this because a lot of the people who saw what happened to me, who were also content creators, they've had the same thing happen to them, but a lot of them have just given up. And they just said, I'm just gonna stop doing content creation, I'm done with this, which is, it's unfortunate. And it's sort of like this phrase that they say, cancel culture doesn't exist because you have to cancel yourself. And in some ways that kind of makes a little bit of sense. Like if you allow these people to dictate your life, then that's what you get. So a lot of streamers are going through the things that I'm going through, but they either stop streaming entirely, a few of them maybe go the route that I've gone, or some of them just cave in and just follow whatever the narrative is to continue with their platform. But as far as like the spiritual aspect, like finding God, not to my knowledge.
It's a narrow path.
Yeah, very narrow. Hi.
Sorry, I'm a little anxious about this. So coming from someone that also struggles with depression and has struggled for several years of my life, what was your biggest motivation to get through your darkest of times and find the light?
For me now, it is Jesus. that is my hope, that is my light. Because I'm not perfect. There are some times where I might dwell on something that I shouldn't be dwelling on, and then, God pulls me back. But prior to finding God, it was temporary spurts of relief where I would say in the doc, weed, alcohol, partying. But these things didn't actually fix the problem. They were just, I wanted to numb myself during those times. But to me, that was my glimmer of light. So, for someone that doesn't know God and is also caught in this cycle of depression, I would say at minimum, your light has to be the goodness in the world. And there's a lot of goodness in the world. Number one, I would say, get off your phone. Stop doom scrolling, go outside and look at God's creation. Look at nature, go for a walk, have genuine conversations with people that are face to face instead of behind a computer screen. You have to go out and you might have this thing in your brain where it tries to say, no, you don't want to go out and do that, and forget that voice. Go out and make yourself uncomfortable, and once you get into these environments, like I said, going on a nature walk, for example, you just feel so much better. And it's like a muscle, you have to keep, chasing it, because what I've learned with depression and stuff like that, it's like, that doesn't do anything. And I think for a lot of people, we just want to, when you're in that cycle of depression, it's easier to just stay a victim, but that gets you nowhere. I don't know if that really answers your question, because my answer is God. That is my glimmer of hope. Without God, it's kind of, for me, I don't know, it's kind of hopeless, if I'm being honest.
Also, too, as someone who is a struggling addict,
okay.
I am going through recovery. I heard you say that you used substances to cope. How did you get over that aspect in your life, and how do you still get over it every single day?
Yeah.
Why is it not so easy to run back to it now?
God, it's so easy to not. Okay, so let me give you a little backstory about me quitting weed. I started smoking weed because I was really anxious during my customer service jobs, and I said, I just need something to take the edge off, you know? And then one edible a weekend would turn into 3 edibles, and then turn into, I'm high all the time. And it was just, I was numbing my entire life. And then I would rationalize, oh, this is a way for me to take care of my depression, and I wasn't really treating my depression, I was sort of just avoiding it. And so, I told myself, what wasn't mentioned in this documentary is when I started going to church because of some Christmas event they were having, the next month they were starting this 30 days of prayer and fasting. At the time I wasn't a Christian, but I said, why not? I'll just join in, prayer and fasting. Okay, cool, whatever. So 30 days, I said, I'm going to give up some things that I'm really attached to. Weed was one of them. Coffee was another one. And then I said, during this time, I'm not going to do these things, but I'll just like read a chapter in the Bible for 30 days. And so after 30 days, I was clean of weed. And then I think I made it maybe 2 months. And then I slowly started introducing weed again. And in retrospect, I think, again, when you're trying to overcome something on your own, and I don't doubt that there are people out there who have been able to reach sobriety without the help of God, but for me personally, when I was doing this, I was treating it as somewhat of a challenge. And like, I'm a very competitive person, but challenges, that doesn't actually change your lifestyle. You have to change your lifestyle, and I needed help to do that. And so it got to the point where I was sort of going back and forth, again, before I became a Christian, going back and forth of, oh, I'll quit weed for a week, and then I'm back to smoking weed again. Quit for a month, and then back and forth. And it wasn't until I just told God, I was like, Lord, I need help. Like, I need help doing this. And eventually he just took that desire away from me. And I don't have a desire for weed anymore. In fact, when I smell it, it makes me angry.
Okay, last question and or comment.
Okay.
As someone that used to dive into the social media realm, I still do have a following, but I don't entertain it anymore. What is your best advice for me if I wanted to jump back into it without it becoming controversial?
Without it becoming controversial. So, unfortunately, everything is controversial these days. Even if you breathe, you're gonna create some controversy. I guess my thought, and it kind of reminds me, because people ask me all the time when I want to get back into content creation. Well, my thought is like, okay, what type of content are you making? And is it something that you truly believe in? Is it something that you're putting value into the world? And the reason that I say it like that is because, again, the internet is crazy, and sometimes it's just not worth it. But if you think that it's worth it, then just do it. But you're avoiding controversy, it's like, I don't even know what that means. It's not possible. But if you are gonna start posting content or what have you, try your best not to look. As someone who, recovering depression, don't look at comments. Don't look at mean comments. Don't look for them. Don't spend time doom scrolling. Just leave it alone.
Not gonna lie, a lot of my content was videos of my dog.
Okay, well that's good. That's good though. That's happy stuff. There's a lot of doom and gloom on the internet. And I think that's good. It's beneficial.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Give me that.
This is mine.
If this is a film that you want to get out there, you want to support in some way, there's 2 ways that you can do that. Number 1 is just leaving a review on somewhere like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. Most people do not have accounts on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, which is where the pain point is for most people in supporting something like this, is making the account. So if you want to leave a review on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, that would be massively helpful to us. The other thing is, if you want to support sort of what's going on just in the streaming sense after this, is Lore TV. So Marcus, again, who's leading Lore TV with Jason Farley, if you want to support this in that way, you can subscribe to Lore, use code GOTHIX, you'll get 10% off of your subscription, and that directly supports us. But that's pretty much it. I know you just watched it, so you're not going to see anything new. But then I guess there's a third way, which is if you want to tell people about it. I won't force you, but if it's something that you want to, it's the kind of story that just means enough to you, tell it to people. Don't spread the word if you thought it sucked, that's okay. But if you thought it was all right, then let people know. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for coming out, guys. Now get out of here!
GOTHIX streaming now on Lore TV. Go watch it on Lore TV.